Hey guys, Magic Master here, and I haven't really done a sleight of hand trick in a while, so that's what I'm going to be doing today. Some of you might have heard of it. It's called Magician versus Gambler. Now, since I'm doing this on camera and some of you guys are magicians, you might see how this is done, but an ordinary person that has no clue about any moves in magic and is not watching you on a camera will have no idea how this is done. But before we get into that, I'm at 94 subscribers right now. I just need 6 more for 100 and I'll do the deck giveaway, guys. And remember, this is going to be the grand prize. There will be other decks, of course, but that's the grand prize. And there will be 3 winners, by the way. Also, if you have not already, go watch my introduction for my Contraband by 311 deck review and Pharaoh Shuffle tutorial video. It is a pretty important one. Finally, go subscribe to J Tricks, Cards Galore, and Challenge Tube. I will leave links to all 3 of their channels in the description. Without further ado, let's get into the performance. So, magicians and gamblers both think they're better card handlers. So one day, the magician bet the gambler that he could cut to a 4 of a kind, and the gambler says no way. Alright, so the magician cuts the deck, and he cuts to a king. Alright, so sets king down on the table. Magician cuts the deck once again, and he cuts to a second king. Alright, doing pretty good. Magician sets that king on the table. Cuts the deck once again, and the magician cuts to a third king. So by now, magician's getting pretty excited, and the gambler's getting pretty nervous, because he thinks he might lose the bet. So the magician cuts the deck one more time, and unfortunately though, he cuts to an ace. Gambler's really happy, starts to take the money off the table, but the magician says, wait a minute, I told you I was going to cut to a 4 of a kind. And that is what I did. Alright guys, that was the performance, and let's get right into the tutorial. So, as you guys can probably guess, or if you know this trick, it does require a setup. You're going to need to get out 4 aces, the 4 aces, and 3 kings. It doesn't matter, it could be 2 black kings and 1 red king, or 2 red kings and 1 black king. Just get out 3 of the kings. It doesn't matter what they are. So, your setup, you set the deck aside for a bit, and you want to alternate ace, king, ace, king, ace, king, ace. So you have an alternation like that. You got ace here, king here, ace here, king here, ace here, king here, and ace here. And it doesn't really matter what order they're in. Well, it does matter. It has to go ace, king, ace, king, ace, king, ace. But I mean, like, if the ace of hearts was over here instead of the ace of clubs, or it was over there instead of the ace of diamonds, it doesn't matter where they go, but I just like to put them in the aces in chased order, and then I like to take the 3 kings, and whatever king has both of the colors, like I have 2 red kings here, I put them on the outsides, and the indifferent king goes in the middle. So I like to have the aces in chased order, and then if I had 2 black kings, they would go out here. If I had the 2 red kings in this case, they would go out here, and the indifferent king goes in the middle. But they can go in whatever color order you want them to be in. So then you take your setup, set it on top of the deck. Now you're ready to begin. So you go out to your spectator, and then there's a story that kind of goes along with this. It just distracts your spectator a little bit. So you can make up the story however you want, or you can copy my version. The version I like to do is, so magicians and gamblers both think they're better card handlers. One day, the magician bet the gambler that he could cut to a 4 of a kind, and the gambler says no way. So that's how I like to start it off. And while you're doing this, you can do any kind of false cut you want. And then right before you finish up your introduction story, you want to cut the deck like that and hold a pinky break. So, and then you say, and the gambler says no way. All right. So you say, then the magician cuts the deck, and you cut either all the cards from your pinky break and set that on top, or you can break the cards above your pinky break into 2 piles and cut like that. Doesn't matter. So now your setup is back on the top of the deck. So you say the magician cuts the deck, and he cuts to a king. And then you have to do a double lift. You can do whatever double lift you want to do. Doesn't matter. So you show the king. You set that back on the deck, and then you say, you set the king on the table, which is really an ace. And then when you say the magician cuts the deck again, he cuts to a second king. So what you want to do is get a pinky break here, transfer it to a thumb break, and then do a double undercut. So you take half the cards below here, set that on top, still hold your break, take the rest of the cards from your break, set that on top. And that has gotten the king to the bottom. So while you're doing that, you say the magician cuts the deck again, and he cuts to a second king. You do another double lift. Show it. And then you can kind of say like, all right, we're doing pretty good. And then you set that down, which is another ace. And then you say the magician cuts the deck once again. Same thing, pinky break, thumb break, double undercut. And he cuts to a third king, again doing a double lift, and show the king. My double lifts aren't great on the tutorial here, but it's a tutorial, so it doesn't really matter. And then you show the third king. Set that back down, set the king on the table, which is really the third ace. And then when you do your last double undercut here, you kind of talk like, so by now the gambler's getting pretty nervous and the magician is getting pretty excited because he thinks he might win the bet. Then you do your another double undercut, and then you say the magician cuts the deck the last time and he cuts to an ace. Now for the ace, you kind of just don't want to flip it over, which is unlike all of your other double lifts. You kind of want to still pretend you're doing a double lift, but they won't know you're pretending you're doing a double lift. So just make it look the same like the way you picked up the other three cards. So this is how I like to do my double lift, so I would make it look like the same thing as the other three. And you say he cuts to an ace. And then you set the deck outside and say, gambler's really happy, starts to take the money off the table, but the magician says, wait a minute, I told you I was going to cut to a four of a kind. And that is what I did. And you can flip them over, or you can have the spectator flip them over. Alright guys, that was the trick. Hope you liked it, and I'll see you next time.